Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking about Ahsoka today. The finale viewership was, in fact, worse than Andor. Andor, a show which the creator themselves have come out and stated, yeah, it was chasing the audience. Wasn't that good, actually. It wasn't a massive success. And as you can probably tell, my voice is absolutely wrecked. So joining me to alleviate some of the pressure on my voice is friend of the channel, Culture Casino. How you doing, good sir?
I'm fantastic. It's great to see you, Mr. H. I wish you felt better.
Great to see me, just not hear me.
Well, honestly.
Yeah, I know. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed Culture's input today on this unusual video, please do check out his channel linked down below in the description box. And a massive thank you for jumping on to talk about this, because goodness me, the finale viewership clocking in worse than Andor. Yeah, hilarious, quite frankly. Now, this is an article over on Bounding into Comics, and this is actually from Nielsen as well. So, do you want to talk through the two main trackers and why Nielsen is not necessarily better, but a good, a good indicator of viewership?
Well, Nielsen's been the one that's been traditionally doing television ratings forever. I mean, they're the industry standard, and they're something that Disney is going to rely on in the future for their ad tier streaming service because everybody does. They are able to track data in a very effective way across a broad audience, unlike something like Samba, where you end up with very skewed viewership because it's only roughly 1/3 of the U.S. market at best. In fact, I was recently informed that it's closer to 28% of the market that could be sampled. So because you have to actually opt into it. So, but
well, I think isn't the other important thing about Nielsen? Disney, in fact, pays Nielsen to track this stuff as well.
Oh, indeed, yeah. Nielsen is not a free service, but they've been paying Nielsen for decades because, again, they handle regular television ratings, and Disney has been a linear television provider for a very long period of time. So they're the most reliable, and you get, even though you wait a little longer for the numbers, it gives you pretty much a flashcard of what everything looks like for the broader audience.
Yeah, and again, Disney pays them. That's important to note, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't like a hit piece by Nielsen. No. Disney literally pays them to cover their series, their products. So let's take a look. We're gonna have a good old chuckle at this, shall we? So Nielsen obviously released their streaming data for the week of October 2nd to 8th. The 8th episode of Ahsoka aired on October 3rd. And it shows that Lucasfilm's Ahsoka series only brought in 575 million minutes. So as noted by ex-user Mac, this is nearly 100 million minutes less than Andor's finale, which racked up 674 million minutes during its finale week between November 21st and 27. I mean, straight off the bat, it's pretty bad, isn't it?
It's terrible. I mean, you're seeing a drop off between every single one of these shows, whether they be Star Wars or Marvel, and this is very embarrassing for Star Wars specifically because Andor had been one of the shows that was, a little lower than the others, but there are people who really enjoyed it, and they're happy to tell you about it.
Well, I think that's the hilarious thing is when you pass it out between the Ahsoka fans and the Andor fans and Star Wars fans, a lot of what would be considered like Star Wars fans are like, I'd say new Star Wars fans maybe, but I digress. Loads of them are like, Andor's poo, Ahsoka, and Dave Filoni. I will fillet you. This is the best thing ever.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, what's odd is that just how divided the audience is now across the board. You have people who are completely done with Star Wars. Star Wars is dead. That's like me. You have people who are, favoring one product over another. There are people that are, sold on Mandalorian. People, that loved Boba Fett for some reason. I can't explain. But if you look at the trajectory of everything since the second season of Mandalorian, it's kind of all of these shows are falling off a cliff fast.
Yeah, well, it's fascinating actually because I said something in a video which should have just I'll be releasing in a little bit. Loki, right? Loki season 2 premiere.
Yeah.
It's fallen off the face of the planet in views, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that's contributed, by general disinterest, but it's also symptomatic of the company's problem as a whole, is they hire the same writers for everything. And so those same writers are doing the same stuff for basically everything across the board. They're going to come across the same narrative structure over and over and over and over and over again. And then the audience goes, I know what's happening. This is boring. Jeez. Especially when you're hiring people to make PG content, you're very limited in what you can do. And it just creates this sort of stagnant. If I can predict what's going to happen consistently on a program, I'm not really that interested.
If you look at the broader if you look at the broader audiences as a whole, right, and you look at this disparity of 99 million minutes or whatever it is, right? So that's epic, and it like I said, between beginning and end, you lost, 1/5, 20% of your audience, 25% of your audience, arguably. And this is based on numbers we can rely on from Nielsen. We saw the same trend when we were looking at the Samba TV numbers.
Company that Disney pays. It's legitimate.
Yeah.
Now, Panning into Comics says that even if one does a simple calculation, dividing total minutes by the runtime, Andor still outperforms Ahsoka. The season finale of Ahsoka had a runtime of 49 minutes. So that would mean around 11.7 million people watched the season finale, which is still not great. As for Andor, its runtime clocks in at 57 minutes. So that would mean 11.8 million people tuned into Andor season finale. But here's where it gets interesting. So the calculation is too simplistic. And actual viewership is a lot more complicated because of how they factor it in. You got 5-10 minutes of credits. People skip stuff. So that matters as well.
Yeah.
But you take it from the horse's mouth, right? The horse's mouth themselves, the creator of Andor, as we come down here, Tony Gilroy said this, and this is a chap very clearly in the know. He would get Disney executives, Lucasfilm executives going, we're not, this viewership, they'll be feeding back to him. I think I was surprised, he says. I thought the show would go the other way, that we would have this gigantic instantaneous audience that would just be everywhere. Now he says, I thought it would go the other way, that we would have a gigantic instantaneous audience, which means they do not have a gigantic instantaneous audience. They have a small audience, obviously. The other way implies that. But then it would take forever for non-Star Wars people or critics or my cohort of friends to get involved in the show. The opposite happened. We ended up with all this critical praise, all this deep appreciation and understanding from really surprising number of sources, and we're chasing the audience.
Oh, yeah. They certainly were. They didn't immediately find an audience. The built-in audience is in the minority, and they have been, well, since before the show was even produced. The reason being is you had to do an extensive amount of homework to understand this show. You had to be familiar with a bunch of animation and some other things that, frankly, most of the adult viewers had no context for. So this character was just available out of the blue, with a couple limited appearances in Mando and whatnot. But the audience wasn't invested in this character, and this character didn't give you anything to get excited about. It was played so wooden, so flat.
Wait. I'm Ahsoka. If you can't see, I'm folding my arms, ladies and gents. That's Ahsoka's trademark move. That's grade A acting right there. That earns $1 million or whatever she gets paid.
Well, it's pretty ridiculous, and again, I mean that's the general consensus from people like me, is that it was incredibly boring and it was a lot of empty filler all the time. She and Sabine and all the main characters spoke in such a plodding way that the pacing was terrible. I've never seen so much space in a fight scene that nothing happened. So, and this was consistently throughout here. And again, I mean, this is exactly what we expected. A lot of talking in hallways or talking in spaceships or talking around a table. and not a lot
criminally
of stuff.
underused great actor with
Yeah.
Ray Stevenson as well.
Yeah, what a terrible loss too. For that to be his last thing that we'll see is disappointing.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I thought this would be quite funny. I mean, closing thoughts there. Culture. Ahsoka's apparently been greenlit for a second season, supposedly. I think it deserves it. Now, important to note, Andor has got a second season, but that was already agreed upon for them even signing up and doing the show to begin with.
Right.
The same can't be said for Ahsoka. You know, they could wrap all of this up in a movie as opposed to just dragging it out for another bloody season and then a movie as well.
Yeah, I don't. And to me, right now, where are they going to get their money from? They're going back to a well that's pretty empty. They obviously have a content well that's fairly empty as well. I think Ahsoka outlived her usefulness in the animation. I don't believe that she should have been introduced into, this world, even though they were able to successfully develop Mandalorian. They were doing that because people had a familiarity with the background of a bounty hunter that kind of that looked and did the same things. People were invested in that, but without a significant amount of homework, you couldn't really appreciate where Din Djarin was coming from. Same thing here with Ahsoka, and I think that this is one of the problems that Disney has. They are trying to consistently reinvent IPs instead of relying on the things that were already readily available to them. And the biggest mistake that the leadership there did was setting aside, the canonized material that they had like decades of books to go through. And while they parse elements of that, they really are leaving so much on the table in service of something else. So again, what's the most telling thing here and the focus of this video is that the viewership for these shows is tailing off. Nobody wants them, nobody's interested in them, and nobody sticks with them. I mean, it's getting worse and worse.
Yeah, massive brand decline. I think it's safe to say Star Wars is dead. Star Wars is dead. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll still be tuning in for Andor season 2. And unfortunately, may have to watch.
You're gonna make me watch that, aren't you?
Yeah, maybe for the podcast, ladies and gents, for the podcast. But anyway, that's about it. That's all we've got to say about this. Thank you so much, Culture, for jumping in and helping me navigate this video with my awful voice. If you're new here, ladies and gents, hit subscribe, turn the bell notifications on, give the video a like. Please do check out Culture Casino's channel, linked down below in the description box. Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye now.